Hello, I'm Carolyn Holzman, and this is Confessions of an SEO. I try not to cover too much detailing down in the weeds SEO. Something happened this week that I really feel like needs to have a little more unemotional, sort of data-driven viewpoint on it. Let's get started. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 19 of Confessions of an SEO. And like I said, something interesting happened on the way to this episode. Last week, I was advocating for trusting what we know as SEO. This week, I'm not sure if we need to start an official Google conspiracy 12-step program. And the thing is, I don't know exactly where I would even fall on that spectrum. So what I'm sharing today, I think deserves our attention as an industry. And I'm talking data. I'm gathering it and posting it on a website called serpvolatility.online. And I am keeping track of 4 queries every day. Uber Eats coupon code, Amazon coupon code, Domino's coupons, Subway coupons. Like I say, I'm running these SERP volatility reports using Quora because Quora will output a list of 100 results. And once you upload them to a site, they're easy to use, just a standard search feature to find out, where the sites that got targeted, like if you're looking for a particular one and seeing where are they today. And I'm talking about sites like USA Today or Fortune.com or Wall Street Journal. I guess it's a case study of sorts, right? Documenting with primary source data instead of all the high emotion that we read that I think is really intended to scare us. I'm concerned, but I want to see the data and provide a snapshot in time. So what the hell happened and why am I talking about it? Well, the name of it is the Site Reputation Abuse Update, SRA update for short. And I guess we want to put it as the latest in Google's attempt to clean up the SERPs. And there's a fairly large and vocal group of SEOs on Twitter that seem to finally catch up with what in the old days we called parasite SEO. Now, back in the day, it took the form of putting content on .edu sites that allowed us to do this without a lot of oversight. People could sign up for an account. If memory serves, I believe there were subfolders, meaning that everything happened to the right of the domain. So I'm just going to, kind of use an example. I'm not saying that this particular site allowed for this to do. I'm just using it for the purposes of illustration. So let's look at Harvard, harvard.edu. And the structure of these types of sites would have been harvard.edu/sites/personal injury attorney LA. Now, I checked to see what Moz had for Harvard's domain authority, and they note it as 93 out of a scale of 100. Google.com is everything's judged against, right? So they're the 100. They're the 800-pound gorilla. So Harvard is not that far off. Now, again, and this was a long time ago, and again, I only used Harvard to illustrate the folder structure. It was really kind of any type of educational website in the early days. Some required more verification than others, meaning you might have to be a student there to get it. But there were a lot where no one was minding the door, and they were exploited relentlessly. You can see Harvard, it's an established website, high domain authority, as I noted just now. And before everybody emails me, I do know that domain authority is made up as a guesstimate to what Google's PageRank system was, the one that they still use and used to share with us publicly a long time ago, but they have since that time taken that information private, and we don't have access to it. So anything that is in a third-party tool doesn't mean that it came from Google. Okay, are we good? So Google seems to have responded, and I can't say that it was the vocal SEOs on Twitter, but Google came up with Site Reputation Abuse Update. Right now, this is as a manual penalty, and Ultimately, Google hopes to roll this into the core algorithm, so kind of much like what they did with helpful content. I was able to sneak helpful content in here too. So at the moment, they seem to be I'm recording it before obviously publishing this, but at the moment, Google seems to be revoking some of their manual penalties for sites that were ripped out of the searchable index last week. Now, they did announce back in March when they told us about the core update that the site reputation abuse spam update would go in effect on May 5th. So on May 6th, on Twitter, Danny Sullivan said, while the policy began yesterday, the enforcement is really kicking off today. That was last Monday, and that was the night the lights went out in Georgia. Now, I think I may have seen how they rolled that out in the server logs, but I'll save that juicy tidbit for another time. So starting on Monday, they began to issue manual penalties for sites, and this is Monday like last week. They believed that these sites had abused the reputation of their own site. Think of this as like domain authority, big enterprise sites, maybe a couple smaller ones, but mainly big ones, who had coupons on their sites, not, sort of placed in between articles, but actual like subfolders on there where they had coupons. And these were provided by third party, meaning it wasn't, like I say, just having a coupon on the site. It was having coupons for other people's businesses on their site and created in a way where they could generate tons of pages that all were dedicated to specific coupons for anything from pizza to crafting supplies, okay? So you can think of these as a massive affiliate play by new sites to capture additional revenue streams. So who cares, right? Big enterprise typically has gotten an easier time than the little guy. Why should we cry for them? But I think what's in there is something that might concern us all, whether it's enterprise news or somebody who just is great at turning their ideas into revenue. Can we afford to give Google a straight pass? When it comes to free speech, should Google be doing this, almost censoring these sites, telling them what business models they can or cannot engage in? Digital newspapers can no longer generate revenue by providing ads to save consumers money. All right, let's just break that apart a little bit. How big is the coupon business in the US? One moment, please, while I look that up. So according to the industry research company, I'm calling them an EMD whore. Sorry. If you don't know what that is, that's exact match domain, meaning the domain matches the query for the term. So with a domain named just like the query, they intended to use that to their advantage to rank up high in Google. It's not domain reputation abuse, but come on, in the right light, Google might consider that abuse at some point. I'm trying to telegraph where I'm headed with this. So according to the industry research company, the digital coupon market in 2022 was estimated at just over $6 billion. And they forecast an annual growth rate of just over 18%, that by 2028, they expect it to be around $17.8 billion. All right, I just share those numbers so we can agree. That's one nice big pond. All right, so now getting back to what happened. Sites like CNN, USA Today, Fortune, Wall Street Journal. I've also heard whispers that it might be GQ, Forbes, Sports Illustrated, Reuters, Daily Beast, Telegraph. It rocked the world of companies that were, based on what we know, legitimately curating content. Now, I can't say all of them. There were those like USA Today. It didn't influence the editorial department, but they were clearly noting on their site that this was a partnership with a third party who curated coupons and one in which they were closely involved. I mean, strictly by the books, when you read the Google developer documents, they did it the way Google said, if you do it this way, we don't consider that spam. Now, when you look at it, this is nothing. There is nothing in this, which in the old days we would have called parasite SEO. I think it's a complete misnomer. I'm going to advise you to grab your tinfoil hat and adjust your antenna. Why would Google want to take down an entire industry under the guise of reputation abuse manual penalties? Because That is kind of what they did. Now, they didn't do it to Groupon. They didn't do it to Retail Me. Retail Me Not? So if you were like, that was your main business, it was publishing coupons, they were fine with it. It's that if you were a news site, they were not fine with it. As I said before, I'm working on a case study of this phenomenon because I find it fascinating. I'd love to sort of see from a nuts and bolts kind of way and an unemotional clinical approach to see what actually does a manual penalty look like? What are the mechanics involved? Is it really de-indexed or is it deserved or does it just go through phases individually, stages, right? So everything takes time. Are we all so vulnerable that if we search for Domino's pizza coupons, that we be confused or misled, that we searched for them and found them and found them exactly, what we wanted, but they were on a news site? Am I the only one who remembers newspapers? So it makes me think is Google run by 20-year-olds who don't know about paper maps, paper newsletters, or music CDs? Sorry, I just can't wrap my head around what would be so misleading and confusing as to find a coupon on a news site. Now, they say past behavior is indicative of future behavior. So let's get out our little time machines. Back in 2010, Google made an offer for Groupon for $6 billion when Groupon only had a 2-year track record. And I say this not because we're going to try and figure out if Groupon made a mistake or not. No, it's just to illustrate that there may be a possible interest in coupons that may have never died on somebody's Google whiteboard. Groupon seems to be doing okay in the SERPs. But if you look at their pages or pages on news sites, compare the two, they don't look any different. They're also produced at scale, and that's exactly what these enterprise outfits do. Is this an elaborate revenge? Best served cold, mafia-style hit? I don't know. Did they decide to take advantage of the cloud cover provided by all those, I'm just going to editorialize here, hyperventilating narkish SEOs that literally are pointing to their own collected list of sites that, in their opinion, deserve to be nuked because they think they are spam? Why are some in our industry so eager to point the finger and cry foul on our fellow affiliate marketers? It's not like these guys are engaging in porn or pills. It's saving a few bucks on pizza, for Christ's sake. I don't know, but what concerns me is that Google has decided what is abuse, what is spam. Coupons in digital newspaper websites. I guess I have to say I'm shocked that there's coupons in this digital newspaper. I also read the slide deck, redacted version, of course, from the Department of Justice antitrust case against Google, and specifically Google Ads. And I read the section where they described in their conclusion about monopoly power. And when I read it, it was brutally clear to me. And I'll share just three of them. And anybody who wants to see the slide deck, I'll put the link in the description. So we're going to talk about monopoly power. Monopoly power is the power to control prices or exclude competition. The next one, the material consideration in determining whether a monopoly exists is if there's power that exists to raise prices or to exclude competition. They have direct evidence that shows a firm's power to control prices or exclude competition. The power to exclude competition is consistent with monopoly power. I don't know, but my opinion, the latest move is likely going to mean the legal woes for Google are not going to stop at any time. But I think as consumers and marketers, this is way beyond the pale. So I leave you today with a variation on an old quote. I think some people refer to it as the poem of protests. And I hope you'll indulge me just this one time, or I should say one more time. First, they came for the site reputation abusers, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't making money on that site. So you kind of know how this ends. Eventually we get to, then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. Well, that's it for this week. To stay up to date on indexation, the state of indexing, and total nerd out, check out Crawl or No Crawl on Substack. I am speaking at the Entity Elevation Summit in June. I'll put the link in there. They're also offering streaming access for talks. So if you can't physically make it to the whole thing, you can grab a ticket to individual presentations. Now, mine will be talking around the framework of the helpful content system. I want to talk about also is I'm going to be adding a section in there that I'll tell you, it will be the only time I will speak publicly about it. And it's going to be an apparent fail in the spammer space that validated my helpful content theory yet again. Also, if you think you have a site that's been hit by the helpful content system, reach out to me. You can email confessions@americanwaymedia.com. Thank you for being a listener. If you have any questions or topic ideas, I want to hear from you. You can text Confessions at 512-222-3132. Thanks again. And until next week, I'll see you in the SERPs.